It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
Hey, it's great to have you working around the boat with us again today on ShipShape TV. I'm John Greviskis, and in case you're wondering, what I'm doing here is I'm putting on a couple of clamps to hold this engine template in place. We're going to be pre-drilling it to start the process of hanging our twin 200 Mercury outboards on the back of our 1982 Pursuit project boat. In fact, we're going to show you how to install a never-seen-before Teleflex steering system that's going to blow you guys away. We're going to show you how to bleed it, and we're also going to add a couple of powder-coated accessories to our project boat. And if you're not familiar with powder coating, we've got a factory tour lined up. Get ready for a couple more great ways to make your boat ShipShape.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Great American Marine, celebrating 11 years as West Florida's most complete new and used boat sales, service, and brokerage facility. Mermaid Marine Air Conditioning. It's cool to sleep with a mermaid. And by Stainless Marine. Fly like an eagle with performance-proven products for every boat owner.
A couple of weeks ago, you might remember when we were installing these trim tabs, we decided to come up with 30-inch centers. And Nick, give us a heads up on why we chose such a vast amount of distance between these centers. It's not a typical center.
No, it's a little bit unique to this application, John. When we installed the transom plate, even a few more weeks before that, we had a cutout here in the center of the transom when it had the single engine. And of course, we went with this bigger plate to accommodate the twins. And what I'd like to do is on these upper mounting bolts, have them transfer the load through existing transom rather than the hollow space.
What's a typical center?
Most boats, and outboard engines for that matter, are set up for 26-inch centers, and there's more than one reason as to why that is. The main reason would be the engine cowlings themselves, the actual width of the engine cowlings. Now, as they turn, they get closer together.
Right.
And if you were to put the motors any closer than 26, typically the engine cowlings would bump into each other on a full swing.
Well, I know you're really into racing, and you were telling me earlier that you have some engines that are actually on 18-inch centers. How do you get around the cowling problem?
Well, what you're talking about is a race boat, and they have some of the Mercury high-performance engines on them, and the high-performance line from Mercury has a real slimline cowling which will allow you to get the motors in at 18 inches for multiple engine setups. Now, on a performance boat, the closer the engines are, normally the faster the boat's going to be because we're leaving a smaller footprint and we're directing the propulsion to one single point. On a standard boat, if you put the motors in that close, you're going to have a lot less control at docking and slow speeds and maneuvering. So 26 is usually about where you want to be.
That's a great point. You know, the wider that you do put your engines out, the more maneuvering ability you're going to have at dock at slower speeds. Isn't that correct?
Correct, because what you're doing is you're putting your leverage points out further, and you're able to swing the boat with twin engines, especially one forward and one reverse, and pivot it around with greater ease at a wider center.
Well, great. Why don't I finish up drilling this out, and why don't you go ahead and put in your steering rod?
Excellent. What I've got here is some Tef gel, and this is the stainless steel rod which is going to attach our brand new SeaStar 5345 front mount steering cylinder. Now the reason I use the Tef gel is it's ground up Teflon, and I'm going to coat this stainless steel rod as I insert it into this tilt tube. This is going to be the main rod that the steering is going to ride on. So we'll get a good heavy dose of this Tef gel on, and we'll apply this new cylinder. Now these cylinders are designed to run 450 horsepower if they're non-counter-rotating engines, and 600 horsepower if you're running counter-rotators like we have here. And we've only got 400, so we've got more than enough to handle this job. This system is completely redone, and one of the things that I like about it is the fact that there's not a lot of parts. These things over the years were 30, 40 pieces, and you needed the instructions with big, long graphs on how everything went together. This thing goes together real easy. So we're going to install this cylinder and then attach it to the factory tiller arm. And once that's attached and bolted through, just a one-bolt thing, we're going to go ahead and bolt this motor onto the boat. John, how are you making out with those holes?
It's all finished up. I just want to take this template off, and we'll be ready for you to bring the motor over. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Steering's all ready, John. I want to get some 5200 here in between this clamp bracket and the transom plate. It's going to give us a little bit of a cushion. All set.
How we looking there, Nick?
Looks good.
Okay. Okay.
All right, now straight down. Okay, hold it. Now these are the factory bolts that are supplied with the engine, and I'm applying 5200 on the shank of the bolt because it's going to pass through the transom. And I like to use these factory bolts because they're fine thread and they have brass nuts and they won't strip out. A lot of times if you use a stainless steel bolt, you have a possibility of galling it. Take it up a hair, John.
Well, right now we need to go to break, but stick around. When we come back, we're going to show you how to install the helm of our steering.
ShipShape TV will be right back. We now return to
Give your prized items a better than new look with SureHold Buff Magic. This buffing compound works as a metal polish and rubbing compound for your boat, car, and other home equipment. Buff Magic is specifically formulated to remove oxidation and surface defects, restore that quality showroom's shine, and provide a deep, rich finish in one easy step. Proudly made in the USA, SureHold Buff Magic is the ultimate restoration compound. SureHold. Clean and simple.
ShipShape TV.
Welcome back to the show. We finished bolting both engines in place, and Nick, I just can't believe how easy it is to pivot this engine with this new steering.
These guys, John, they've really put their heads together up the engineering department with Teleflex, and they redesigned the front mount cylinder, and they put some pivot points on the front plate, and as it turns, everything moves easy. I'll tell you, I've never installed a system that was this easy to put on, this fast, and definitely this free and smooth.
Now they're not paying us any endorsement money here. This
it's good stuff.
This is some good stuff. Okay, Nick, we need to talk about how these engines are going to tow. Why don't you explain to our audience what tow is first?
Sure, let's have a look, John. Now, tow is the direction of which the lower unit is going to go through the water. In other words, we want the lower units to go through the water straight and even, otherwise we get drag or we can catch air.
Okay.
Now, since these are counter-rotating engines, one prop's turning one way, the other one's turning the other way. So that propeller is turning that way,
This
right?
way, okay.
And this one's turning this way.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is these lower units are going to pull away from each other as the torque of the prop yanks.
So you want them towed in a little bit. As that torque comes out, they'll be running straight through the water.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, aren't some boats actually counter-rotating this way?
Not very often, but you do see it on a performance setup. Some of your boats that say have a pad bottom or flat spot on the bottom, velocity or a fountain, and occasionally you'll get some of your offshore cats that are set up for racing that are really light, where they'll turn them in. Now, by changing the rotation of the propellers, you change the means or the pull of how the boat's being lifted and how it goes through the water.
Okay, back up here. So in our case, our props are going out.
Correct.
We're going to be pulling on what, the bow?
We're going to be lifting the bow up by turning out, and that's the norm.
Okay.
That's 99% of the boats.
Pad bottom boat, where there's a pad on the back of the boat. If they're coming in, it's got to lift the stern.
It lifts the stern, but it does it not necessarily by the engines lifting the stern, but by the hull design itself. By shearing the water, it gives it a cleaner footprint and allows the back of the boat to come up and utilize the flat pad.
Well, great. That's really a hot concept. And speaking of hot concepts, I want you guys to check out this new boat that's on the market. I think you guys are going to flip out over it. I've got the best seat in the house aboard this 272 Sailfish Grady White at world famous John's Pass Marina. And with us again today is the sales manager, Bill Hart, who's going to give us the tour of the boat.
This is Grady's Sailfish 27. It's 27 feet 10 inches long, John, with a beam of 910. You've got seating for 8 from the bow all the way back. You've got the best seat, as you said. If you notice on the Sailfish, it has what they call, it's a sport bridge. Has 2 big steps up to the helm. Gives you great visibility when you're out in the water. Also makes the cabin a little higher so that even a 6'6" man can stand up down there. You also have in the cabin for the ladies, you got a stand-up and closed head, a mid-berth, a standard refrigerator, and a standard butane stove.
Well, you know, a lot of guys would go absolutely crazy to own a boat like this, but women like this boat because of the safety issues. Tell us about those.
Well, yeah, the Grady's are all filled with unsinkable foam flotation. That's one thing they like. And also the ladies, because the kids and such, like the higher freeboard. Grady's got over 2 feet of freeboard, and with the soft coaming pads, it makes it very easy to lean against. If you're fishing, you've got tow rails down there to hook your feet in so that if you're leaning over, hooking, gaffing a fish or netting a fish, it's easy to do, John.
So the mom can feel very safe and secure with the kids back here because it's such a high distance between the deck and the top of the boat.
And you've got a solid fiberglass door, unlike a lot of boats that just use a piece of polywood.
Okay, that's the transom door that you're referring to. And we use that when we catch big, huge fish, like big dolphin, record-breaking wahoo. Now, have you caught any of those yet?
Well, you would have to bring that up, John. I'd like to say I have, but no, I pull my grunson over the side.
Well, I noticed that this boat has a hard top, and it really sets the boat off. It's beautiful.
It's an optional feature, but for an offshore boat, I think that's what you need to, when you're walking around, you have something to hold on to.
Bill, what sets Grady apart from the rest of the factory?
It's a good question, John. The basic difference is the materials, the quality of materials that Grady uses, and their workmanship. They've been building boats for 38 years. The stainless steel is 316 laboratory. It's going to last for 20 years like that, but it's twice as expensive as other stainless. The boat's 100% hand-laid fiberglass. Gives you a stronger boat, but it costs more to do that.
And it's 3-piece construction.
3-piece construction. You've got a hull, an interliner, and a deck. They're all glassed together, so you end up with one unibond construction with the foam flotation.
You've got a unique hull on this boat. Tell us about it.
It's a CV2 hull. It was designed by C. Raymond Hunt Associates exclusively for Grady. Basically, John, what it is, you have a 20-degree dead rise at the transom with a hard chine, so you get stability. Each inch you come forward in the center line, all the angles are straight, you get a deeper V, and by the time you get to where you're sitting, you're over 30 degrees, which is deeper than anybody's deep V.
John's Pass Marina is right at John's Pass, Marker 1.
Marker 1 at John's Pass.
How do we get here from land?
By land, we're directly west of St. Petersburg on the northern tip of Treasure Island.
And you're open on Saturdays for service.
We have service on Saturdays for our customers. If you have a problem, just give us a call. We've been here 30 years, been a Grady dealer for 18 years.
That's great. Well, today I'm looking at the 27-foot Grady White. If you would like to see this boat for yourself, come on down, talk with Bill Hart. You'll be glad you did. Nick, that boat was almost as smoking as that metal rod down there.
That was hot, John.
Man, I'm telling you.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. What are you doing?
John, this is the tie bar, and we measured the distance in between the front of the engines, and we went ahead and cut the threaded rod and cut our support tube to that right size. Then I'll install this tie bar and set the toe.
Well, while you do that, I want to go down to American Powder Coating and show you guys how the process is actually done. More and more marine parts are being powder coated today rather than being coated by traditional paints. With us to explain the process of powder coating is a good friend of mine, Bob Symington of American Powder Coatings down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Bob, can you tell our audience what powder coating actually is?
Sure, John. It's a blend of all the modern technologies that they've collected over 30 some odd years, put together from copolymers, plastics, paints, any of the new technology that's available today. And it produces a product that you can coat with that has no VOCs. That means that there's no pollution. The EPA really happens to like that a lot because it's very environmentally friendly, and it produces a coating that just cannot be beat.
A lot of new parts are being powder coated, but what about old parts?
Old parts are also good because you can bring an old part in off a boat. We then sandblast it, we'll inspect it, we'll check the welds. At that point, if everything is still good, then we go ahead and we pre-treat it. We acid wash it. We go ahead and inspect it again after that before it's sealed. This way, then we bake it out. That gets rid of any entrapment that may cause a problem later. So you know when we get your part back to you, not only does it look like new, but it's going to perform like new. So there you're not having the expense of the new parts.
We selected to have some of the accessories of our project boat powder coated. Can you show us how durable this stuff really is?
We'd be more than glad to.
Bob, you're crazy. You're wasting this motor mount. What's going on here?
Rubbing compound takes that right off, John.
That is unbelievable.
There won't be a mark. As you can see, just your finger alone, if you were to rub that with your finger, just take a minute, it's gone. Any time that you'd install an engine, you're going to hit something.
All right, it's tough on, like if you bang into a dock or something like that, but what about the sun? Is this stuff going to chalk up on us?
No, it won't. In fact, that's why we offer a 5-year warranty. This stuff has probably enough strength to go in excess of 20 years architecturally. And our sun down here, as extreme as it is, 5 years is a very difficult time. We'll guarantee that it doesn't go bad in that 5-year period.
You guys electrostatically apply this material. Show me how that's done.
Okay, we'll be glad to. First thing we do is hook up the ground wire to the part. That lets the electrostatic part work like it's supposed to. That allows it to wrap in all the nooks and crannies, cover welds, and get into blind corners it's virtually impossible to paint any other way with an even coating.
How long will the charge hold onto the part?
Charge would stay on there by itself for hours if you left it alone.
Once it's done there, you put it into the oven?
Yes, it goes right in. That's where it's baked on.
What kind of temperature are we looking at?
Different products, different parts will run anywhere from 340 degrees to 400 degrees. And the time element would go anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half.
Bob, what are the costs of powder coating versus painting?
The cost is going to be pretty much the same, John.
If you do get a scratch on one of the parts, do you have to get it repowder coated?
No, not at all. We can get touch-up paints for you. You can get right on top of the scratch and block out filiform corrosion, end of problem.
When I was coming into the building, I noticed that you have one of your race boats that you sponsor out front, and you did some nice work on that powder coating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's our baby. We like to show that one off.
Well, we want to spruce up the look of our boat. We're going to take those parts and head on back to the boatyard. Bob, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, John. Thank you.
ShipShape TV will be right back.
Hi, I'm Barry Burhoff with Surehold Industries. Look at this guy and all the stuff he needs to maintain his boat. I guarantee you he'll be tripping on that all day long. Forget that nonsense. Use the Surehold family of products featuring the one handle that does it all. Surehold has over 40 different quality attachments that easily locks into place. Deck brushes, mops, squeegees, scrubbers, paddles, boat hooks, and even a camera adapter. Whether it's for your car, truck, RV, or boat, keep it clean and simple with Surehold products.
And now back to the project.
Welcome back. I wanted to surprise Nick with how the powder coating came out. Let's get his reaction. Nick?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh my goodness, I love it, John. It's
Isn't that
perfect.
Nice? Everything came out looking that good or better.
Look how smooth it is.
Oh, it's unbelievable. That's going to look really nice. What you been working on?
Well, I finished up the motors. I got everything hooked up to the engines, tie bars all set, toes all set. We're going to change the helm out, pull some hoses, and bleed the steering.
Now, when you're running your hose, it's very important that you run it in a straight line. You don't want any hills or valleys in it. You want to keep it as straight as possible, and you want to support it at least every 18 inches. Once our hoses are in place, it's time to put our helm in, and Nick, I'm gonna go ahead and feed this to you. The helm's going to attach with 4 bolts and we'll draw it in place. We've got an oil fill on top of this. This is where the hydraulic fluid is put in, and we want to make sure that that's in the up position. How's that look, Nick?
Looks good. You can remove that oil fill if you'd like and put in the filler hose.
Sure. That fill tube that Nick's talking about is really a great idea that Teleflex has come up with. Basically, it screws right into your helm, and if you can see up here, this allows you to screw your fluid right to this tube. Comes with a pin. You poke a hole in the bottom of the fluid and it drains right into the thing without any mess. Well, I've got our bottle hooked up to our intake fill, and Nick, can you hold this up? And I'll head back to the boat and tell me when you're ready for me to bleed the system.
John went ahead and filled the helm with already 1 quart of fluid. Then what we're going to do is take and turn the system hard over. And we're going to turn it to the right side. John's going to take the starboard side bleeder and crack it open. All ready, John?
Okay, Nick. What I did is I cut off the top of one of our hydraulic fluid containers, and we want to turn this about 1 turn until we're getting solid fluid coming out. There's some air. Okay, let's do the port side now, Nick. Nick, that's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off, and we're gonna go to break. Stay with us.
Here's what's coming up next on ShipShape TV. We now return to ShipShape.
Well, I got to tell you, the hydraulic steering turned out great, and the powder coating that Bob did for us is unbelievable.
That is unbelievable, John. It really spruces the boat up.
It really does.
Yep.
Quick tip when installing hardware around your boat is you want to make sure that your wood is sealed. You don't want any water getting into that wood. It can cause a lot of havoc. Make sure that that's sealed, and you want to seal all of your components with a good silicone sealant like a Boat Life or something like that.
Marine silicone or
Exactly.
something. You know, if you want to get it out again, you probably don't want to use a 5200, you know.
Exactly. Well, Nick.
Oh, you know what else?
What?
Through bolt.
Yes.
When you can get at it, through bolt, maybe a fender washer, lock nut, lock it in there for good. You don't have to worry about it pulling through.
Good point.
Yep.
We're about out of time, but
Yeah.
real quick, we've been getting a lot of hits on the internet. You guys have been asking us a lot of questions, and I don't know if you've noticed, but we're answering them every day, and I mean lots and lots
appreciate
of questions for us. Give us our email address.
Well, the email would be john@shipshapetv.com or nick@shipshapetv.com.
And our web address on the World Wide Web is shipshapetv.com.
That's it, nice and simple.
Fax number if you want to get a hold of us, area code 561-626-4348. We're going to Lake X pretty soon.
Yes, we're going to take this boat, and we're also going to take a stern drive boat, and we've got a world famous water skier, Lucky Lowe. He's going to come up and he's going to work with us on the stern drive boat and help us with different props and what's good if you got a stern drive boat as far as like getting out of the hole, acceleration, etc. We're going to prop this thing with some of the new offshore props that Mercury's making. We're going to try them all, see what works best.
You're killing me. Time out. We're out of time. Till next week, guys. Keep your boat ship shape. Nick, the gaff-free gauges. I love the helm. I like what they did with the helm. The wiring you did on this boat. Unbelievable
Thank you.
job.
Real good
really,
stuff.
it really came out well. All we're missing now is the windshield
And we're done.
and the propping.
Ship shape means being neater. Ship shape makes